All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the new podcast on APSU-TV called The Role Players. Because we couldn't find a better name than that.
Yeah.
We can't call ourselves Three Idiots and a Mic, even though that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Pretty accurate. And then Practice Squad just doesn't really give the same ringtone.
Need more credibility.
A little more credibility in that as well. So I give you credit there. But, guys, it's a new show. So it's a little different than Crunch Time. Because Crunch Time we do just Austin Peay. Because we are the Austin Peay State Governors.
Yep.
But there's still a lot of sports to talk about. So we just decided to make a new show. And we're going to see how it goes. Again, you got 3 numbnuts and 3 mics. So
Facts.
we're going to see how it goes. But my name is Christian Hunt. I got my man Dylan Walton here to my right, and making his on-air debut is
Finally.
Trey Whiteout, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a round of applause.
I can't. It's first time going on one of these, and realistically, I did not think I'd actually get a chance to be on anything related to Austin Peay in here. So, kind of glad that I finally got a chance.
Bro, listen, to all the viewers out there who don't know Mr. Trey Whiteout, this guy is a legend behind the TriCaster. He makes all of this pretty stuff in here, the shiny stuff. It all works because him and Steve Sawyer and David Ellison make it work. And Doc V, you can give him a shout out for letting us use this lovely studio here at the radio station here at APSU. But guys, we got a lot to talk about.
Yes, sir.
We had a lot to talk about before breaking news just broke of Mr. Trayvon Diggs tearing his ACL in practice, which we will get to, I promise you. But we're going to get to our...
We do apologize.
We do apologize to any people who had the Cowboys defense on their fantasy league, including Mr. Dylan Walton. So, guys, it's a rough day for the Cowboys Nation, but that's football. We're going to live through. We're going to talk about him and some of the other injuries we've had, such as Nick Chubb, J.K. Dobbins, and Aaron Rodgers. But first, let's get into the college football season. As we discussed on our Crunch Time show, there's a lot going on in college football right now. And Mr. Dylan Walton, you are really excited to talk about our first topic, which is Colorado is just dominating the news in college football right now, just the news in general. What's your thoughts on what Prime's doing right now in Colorado?
Honestly, before he even decided to go to Colorado, we talked about this last semester. This was my first year getting into college football. And what better way for my uncle and my cousins to bring me into it? My cousin Shadur and my uncle Dion. But now I'm happy to see that. That's how you turn around. That's how you make garbage gold. You know what I mean? That's how you do it. 3-0, coming out hot, no matter who it was, whether it was middle schoolers or high schoolers. You turn a 1-11 franchise, start off the season 3-0. Yeah. So, defensively, they got holes, but they still win games. Offensively, they undersized, but they can fly around the field. And Shadur can make magic out of, mushrooms. You know what I mean? He can do it all and hold that rollie on his wrist.
He can make the chicken salad out of the other saying that we can't say because it is a clean program here at APSU-TV. But I understand what you're saying. It's crazy how he can flip a program, a man like Deion Sanders, in 1 year. Because, listen, and we give him all the credit in the world because he is prime time.
Yeah.
But to turn a program around as quickly as he has, I mean, granted, they have a tough task here. I believe they play Oregon. Trey, correct me if I'm wrong. They play Oregon.
They play Oregon here, who's ranked number 10. So that if anyone has any doubt over Colorado State, then this is probably the game to come back and kind of show the world that they are for real.
Well, their head coach for Oregon, I can't remember his name, so you're going to have to help me out here, Trey. But he did say they had a little press conference, and he was like, one of the reporters asked him, they said, well, what does it mean for Colorado to leave? And he basically said, they haven't won anything, so who cares? So my thing is, why would you give Deion Primetime Sanders more ammo? Because he's done pretty well so far.
Mr. Dan Lanning.
Mr. Dan Lanning, do not please do what Mike Norvell did.
He already did it.
He already did it, but you got to try to walk it back a little bit because now they have a good team. They have a very good team. They did struggle against Texas Tech, but it's going to be interesting. But, I mean, to see a guy in year one with, what's the number, Trey? 87 transfer portal players?
About 87, yeah.
That's crazy.
A whole new team.
A whole new team. Just said, hey, guys,
staff.
I'm bringing my baggage. It's Louis. And he did. He brought his bag, and it's Louis. And his son's part of that Louis bag. His son's probably the handle of that Louis bag. Yeah. I mean, is he?
Or the leather strap, either one.
Is he your Heisman favorite right now, outside of Caleb Williams?
Yes, for the simple fact it hasn't been done before. You go from FBS team Jackson State or FCS, whatever.
FCS, HBCU,
yeah, FCS Jackson State, and you were the man down there. You know, you could have won Heisman down there if they paid attention. Then you come on the main stage and you really show them with a $40,000 watch on your wrist and some $1,000 shades.
$40,000.
I got swag and I can play. You know what I mean?
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, it's incredible. I hope they do well. I'm rooting for prime time. I think most people in the college football world, Trey, are rooting for him. I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, give us your thoughts really quick.
Honestly, out of all of us, we all know I'm probably the least knowledgeable about college sports.
That's not true.
No, college
sports.
No, me and you might be at a.
But
I know a little bit about
but when it comes to this, I'm fully rooting for him. Like, it's kind of like what you said earlier. He turned a 1 in however many, I think
11.
1-11 franchise into already starting off the year 3-0, and the next two opponents are really good. You've got Oregon
and USC,
now number 10. Yep, and USC, and even after that, you've got Arizona State, Stanford, UCLA, then Oregon State.
It's going to be a tough test.
It's
tough test.
Upcoming road is going to be tough, but I think if there's anyone that you realistically want in that situation right now, I mean, it's kind of hard not to, let's say, put Deion Sanders as the head coach there and really just push forward.
No doubt. A guy we're going to talk about as well that is set the gold standard for coaching in college football, and not just in college, but in just football in general. That's Mr. Nick Saban. Yeah. We have on our notes here, because every year when Alabama loses a game, the same thing gets asked. Kind of the same thing when Texas wins a game. We hear how Texas is back, but every time we hear Bama loses a game, the dynasty's over.
Just the world's falling down and crashing.
I know, dude. They lose one game. Trey, what's your honest thoughts here? Do you think the Bama dynasty is over? Now, they have announced, before we start, they have announced that Jalen Milroe will start against Ole Miss. So, I mean, is the dynasty really over, or is it just, hey, you lost a football game to a pretty solid football team?
I think it's just that they lost a football game to a pretty solid football team. Like, we kind of see this a lot when we kind of saw this a lot when it came to the NFL, for example, with Tom Brady and the Patriots. Just as soon as they lost a game, as soon as they kept losing games in a row, it was like, well, dynasty's over. It's starting to go downhill, and I've never really bought into that. Just losing a football game or losing 2 football games makes it to where your overall dominance, your overall like record when it comes to football is just, I've never really bought into it.
Yeah, I haven't either. And I mean, Jalen Milroe will start. I mean, he played pretty okay against Texas. Yeah, didn't play great, but I thought they pulled the trigger a little too quick on benching him for Buckner, the Notre Dame transfer. I understand he's a Notre Dame transfer. He has started for a pretty big program like Notre Dame, but to bench him and then Buckner go out against USF, a team that you should probably beat down to the bones, and you only score 17 total points, that's not something that is the Nick Saban standard. And so, again, I think they were a little too quick to pull the trigger on benching Milroe, but they said he will start. What are your thoughts? I mean, Jalen Milroe is a pretty good player.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's college football. When you got a certain level of expectancy from the world, and you lay the egg. Well, I'm gonna say you lay egg. You lost to a good team. But you beat the brakes off MTSU, and you barely beat Florida. So it's like, okay, you beating up on the little brother, but when your big cousins come in town, you a little tight. So it's just like Saban probably feeling a little pressure right now.
It was only Jalen Milroe's third start against Texas. That was only, I believe, is his third start. It's in the single digits, but Alabama fans have been very pampered when it comes to quarterback play. You've had just Bryce Young, you had Tua Tagovailoa, you had Mac Jones, you had Jalen Hurts. So you had, and before that, you had A.J. McCarron and some pretty good players in themselves. But they've been pretty spoiled when it comes to quarterback play. So I think they're, again, a little too trigger happy when it comes to just saying, hey, he's not a good football player, and going from there. But I'm excited to see what they do against Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, a former Saban assistant, a guy who has He knows him. He has yet to get a win over him, but we all know that Lane Kiffin probably wants that win more than any other assistant that Saban has coached. Yeah. But the last thing we'll get into for college football, then we'll move on to the professional league in the NFL. Guys, there's really no number one team. I mean, obviously, ranking-wise, the Georgia Bulldogs are still number one, but they looked very pedestrian against South Carolina at home. Yeah. Not on the road against South Carolina, but very pedestrian at home against South Carolina. Trey, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think Georgia is primed for an upset here pretty soon?
Honestly, they might be. I think a perfect example of just getting caught against it, like what was that term again? The one where you kind of go up against a team that you probably should beat and
trap game.
Yeah, trap game. Mm-hmm. For example, we saw Tennessee against Austin Peay. It started to look like maybe it could be.
We discussed that on Crunch Time, and it definitely, for a hot minute, looked like a trap game.
And then they finally got back together and were able to push away from Austin Peay. But it's kind of like you said, there's no real best team. It's just even Georgia looked, like you said, pedestrian against South Carolina.
South Carolina, yeah.
So
at home,
between
the hedges.
So yeah, I think they might be primed for an upset here. I'm not sure which team, though. UAB does not really... I don't think UAB is going to be able to do it, but maybe
Trent Dilford pulls one out of the hat, the former Lipscomb Academy head coach.
Yeah, but maybe we see one like Florida down the line here that somehow pulls it off. But
yeah.
I think as of right now, as much as we would like to say it has anyone but Georgia to do it, right now it's kind of hard not to say it's Georgia with how everyone else has looked and how just it's by process of elimination.
Right. I mean, it's, I kind of wish we had Reese Britt to not that we don't enjoy Trey Whiteout, but I do wish we could talk about this with Reese Britt, because Tennessee was kind of that team that people were expecting to kind of take that next step and be that kind of contender at the national level. They go to the Swamp, which is a tough place to play.
Yeah.
But Florida's not really looked good all year. And
haven't looked good in a couple years.
Haven't looked good in a couple years. But they find a way to get a win over Tennessee at home. And everyone's kind of looking at themselves and going, okay, well, Tennessee maybe isn't what we thought they would be. Maybe Alabama isn't what we expect them to be. And then you take a look at everybody else in the top, 3 or 4, and you're like, okay, Ohio State, they have quarterback potential, problems. They really don't know who their guy is. And it feels like this year in college football, it's just like everyone's just it's kind of open. In terms of the trophy. Last year you're like, okay, there's C.J. Stroud for Ohio State. There's Stetson Bennett. There's
at least right now, though. It's week 3. Well,
it is week.
This be week 4.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, right now, Deion Sanders, everyone thinks he's going to go win the national championship. But I don't think they will. I think they're going to be very competitive. But that defense is just very beatable.
Yeah.
Colorado State, how many points they put up? 38?
I mean, it would be kind of cool. It was 35.
35?
It would still be kind of cool to see Deion just go off.
If he did that,
he would talk so much trash. He's talking trash right now.
He would own
college
Earth.
football.
He would own Earth.
He would just own it all.
Yeah.
He would own it all. But maybe not the NFL. We'll get into the NFL because although he did own pretty much half of the field when he played in the NFL.
Yeah.
So that's he owns a little bit of the NFL.
Yeah.
And maybe one day, he has a future in coaching in the NFL. But if
he coaches his son in the league, that would be ridiculous.
That would be incredible. But that's a long ways away. He's got to do his thing at Colorado. So let's go to the NFL. Guys, it's week 3. So you don't want to panic. And you don't want to make assumptions quite yet with the NFL. But there's some surprise 2-0 teams.
There is.
There's some surprise 0-2 teams. Let's start with the 2-0 teams. I have on my list here, and we'll have the graphic up for you as well, but the Commanders, Reese Britt would be a big fan of this one. Washington's Commanders are 2-0. Even though they almost gave up a Hail Mary at the end of the game. And
should have been 1-1.
And are a pass interference away in the 2-point conversion. But we'll digress. The Falcons, the Atlanta Falcons. How about the ATL?
Desmond Ridder.
How about the ATL and Bijan Robinson and Arthur Smith, the former Titans offensive coordinator? They're 2-0. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man.
Baker Mayfield,
with Baker Mayfield. No, everyone was like, this is the race for the Caleb Williams pick, and they're primed for it. But Baker Mayfield has his team 2-0 on the season. Guys, what are your thoughts? I mean, which team gives you the most surprise so far?
I'd probably say either the Commanders or the Falcons because, sure, the Commanders haven't really played the best competition. They've played played against the Cardinals and they played against the Broncos. Both were one-score affairs that could have literally gone either way. And the same thing with the Falcons when they played the Panthers and the Packers. But I don't think anyone realistically thought that either of these two teams would be 2-0 right now.
No.
And especially with their quarterback play. You got Desmond Ridder for the Falcons and Sam Howell for the Commanders. Well, yeah, you've got the Buccaneers who seemingly got worse over the offseason.
Well, when you lose Tom Brady, that kind of happens.
Yeah, obviously.
And pick up Baker Mayfield.
Pick up Baker Mayfield, yeah, but of the three, he's still like the more proven starter.
That's true.
The Saints were kind of a shock to me. But
see, yeah, they're not for me. I mean, the Saints team is really good. They're just always a quarterback away, and Derek Carr is a pretty good quarterback.
And now they're running back away. Who will be back in about the next 2
Well,
weeks?
they
think 2 weeks from now because I think it's the first 4 weeks of the season.
It's going to be tough, and they're not going to have Jamal Williams this week, so they're going to have to rely on Tony Jones and Taysom Hill. Which, granted, Taysom Hill's a utility belt, and what's it called? Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, a Swiss Army knife.
He's definitely one of those. But yeah, I think the Saints are pretty good. I think they're going to be pretty good. I mean, it's tough watching my Titans throw them the ball 3 times and lose in a gut-wrenching.
No, not your Titans.
It was
your
tough.
Tannehill.
It was tough watching them.
That's true.
It was tough watching them for the entire second half give Henry the ball 3 times. And
That's inexcusable.
Gave him 12 carries in the first half for
Tajay Spears,
107 yards, and then the second half comes around and gave him 3 carries or so.
Gave him a fruit snack.
Tajay Spears had more snaps than Derrick Henry, and that should never happen on planet Earth. And I think Tim Kelly probably realized that, and he said, "I'm going to give Derrick Henry the ball more," which he did. They beat the Chargers, and they played really good defense. And how about the Chargers? I mean, we're going to talk about them, how they're 0-2. They are the first team in the NFL to, through 2 weeks, to score over 50 points, not commit a turnover, and be 0-2.
The defense.
How is that possible? I mean, yeah, it's their defense, but you haven't committed a turnover. You have Justin Herbert as your quarterback.
That secondary, I thought they were going to be so much better heading into the season, and through 2 weeks, they've made Tyreek Hill look like he's just uncoverable, which is granted, yes, but added on
to be true.
Added on to the fact that their secondary as a whole has great players in it. So
J.C. Jackson, Derwin James.
So you don't expect him to go for over 200 yards in the very first game.
And they gave up 200 yards rushing.
Yeah, and then you go into the next game and you made Ryan Tannehill look like Ryan Tannehill, like normal, and it's just.
Yeah, well, listen, Ryan Tannehill is nothing special, and we all know this.
Yes,
even as a diehard Titans fan as myself. But when Ryan Tannehill doesn't turn the ball over and he gets the ball out on time and he has the play-action game, he can be a very decent quarterback.
Sound like a lot of ifs.
Well, see, here's the thing. That's what the NFL is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of ifs. If this guy doesn't get hurt, if our O-line performs, if we can stay healthy. And that's kind of been the Titans' past 2 years. It's just if we can stay healthy, and that's kind of not been the case. But when we're healthy, when our defense is healthy, when the big, Mr. 2K himself is healthy, and Mr. Ryan Tannehill is healthy, he's not throwing to practice squad receivers.
D-Hop is, I still don't understand why he went.
It's Mike Vrabel, man. Mike Vrabel effect will have that on you. But otherwise, why are we talking about the Titans so much?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I love talking about the Titans. No. But, again, it doesn't surprise me that the Patriots are 0-2. Yeah. It doesn't, even though they've lost some pretty tough games, like in tough ways.
5-point loss to the Eagles at the very end of the game, and then they lost, I believe, a 7 to 8 point affair against the Dolphins just this past Sunday night football.
Cole Strange was half a yard away from making one of the all-time greatest lineman plays of all time. Was half a yard. I wish they would have just given it to him and just let it play.
Just let it happen.
Just let it happen. Give the big man the ball. But I mean, you take a look at some of these 0-2 teams. Again, the Chargers, the Bengals. The Bengals.
I'm not shocked about the Bengals.
They started 0-2 last year.
And that's the thing. Joe Burrow, in his first 4 seasons in the NFL, he's only won 1 game in the first 2 weeks. It's not like it's a normal thing. He's 1-7.
But it's different this year. He's hurt, and you can see it how he plays, and he's scared to plant that leg into the ground.
I don't care what anyone says. Just because you get paid, it doesn't make you healthier.
Yeah, it doesn't. Even
though he did get paid, and so it is kind of terrible timing on his part to get paid, be hurt, and then also have 2 dud of games. But yeah, speaking of injuries, boys, we've had a rough start to the college football or to the NFL season. Excuse me.
We've already got 3 people out long term.
I don't
Four
have any
now.
Tissue. I don't
That's
have
right.
any tissue.
With,
Man.
4 with
Trayvon
Mr.
Diggs.
Trayvon Diggs. I thought for a second it was his brother, Stephon, because our director, Paige Hearn, shout out to her, mentioned Diggs in fantasy. And I was like, well, she must be talking about Stephon because he's the one that's fantasy relevant. But he does play for the Cowboys. Trayvon plays for the Dallas defense. And we just learned that he has torn his ACL in practice, and he is done for the year per Adam Schefter. So we wish Mr. Diggs a speedy recovery. Yeah. But he's not the only one. I mean, Monday Night Football, September 11th, we're celebrating or we're mourning the loss of many of our people on September 11th, 2001. And we got a New York Jets opener. Everybody's emotional. We're all pro-America. It's great. We got the Aaron Rodgers debut on Monday Night Football, and then 4 plays later, he's out with a torn Achilles.
Yep. That
is Monday Night Football cursed?
Because it has to be.
I saw a graphic the other day that. What was it? It was Damar Hamlin got hurt.
Yeah, Damar Hamlin got hurt for the Bills in the last Monday Night Football game. Then this season, the very first week, it was
Aaron
Rodgers, and now this past week, it was Nick Chubb.
Yep,
and that one, bro, I cried.
For Nick Chubb or for Aaron Rodgers?
For both of them, because it seemed like every time I went to go get food, somebody tore something.
Don't get food.
Just stop getting food.
Yeah, just don't get food.
It might be worth it at this point. I mean, if Deshaun Watson go down or Odell be done, all my favorite players, I'm done.
I mean, it's tough. J.K. Dobbins, he tears his Achilles. A guy who's always kind of been off injured with the Baltimore Ravens. You feel for him, and you feel for that Ravens offense, and
I honestly think which of the 4 injuries specifically do you think is the most affecting though?
I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not even close.
I think him and Chubb can compete.
Well, no, because actually earlier today the Browns signed Kareem Hunt,
but it's not Chubb though.
It's not Chubb.
He's not, but he's also been with the.
He's the great value version
Browns.
of Chubb.
Yeah, he's the great value version of him. But he's been with the Browns for 4 years beforehand, and he knows the system.
Yeah, he does.
The O-line knows how to block for him. The offensive coordinator
but
and
game plan for Chubb though.
You do, but then when you got Aaron Rodgers, who's literally going to be a Hall of Famer the second he's eligible to it, and then you go from him to Zach Wilson.
That's just an immediate.
That's going from the name brand to not even the great value. That's going to what's the farmers market version?
Just being without.
It's just being without. And and listen, give Zach Wilson credit on Monday night in a tough situation against a very good Buffalo Bills team. He held his own, but then he goes.
Good?
They are. They're just they're kind of going through that same situation with the Cincinnati Bengals as
they go where Josh Allen goes. If Josh Allen is terrible, then you're going to more than likely see a Bills team that is very, very beatable. But if he is playing like his normal self, then we're going to see the Bills just get back to them being crushing teams like they did this past week against the Raiders.
I don't give credit. I don't give Super Bowl contenders credit when they beat Jimmy Garoppolo.
I mean, listen, I don't care who you are, you commit 4 turnovers in one game.
To the same.
3 to the same guy. He got Mr. Jordan Whitehead got his $250,000.
Double coverage every single time.
I found it funny that Jordan Whitehead's number is number 3. He got 3 picks on Josh Allen.
Hey, it's convenient, and then made him $250,000.
Yeah, he got rich.
Yeah, because he's never had a 3-pick season, has he?
Well, it's part of his bonus, and he hit it week 1. So congratulations to him getting the bag week 1. Some other sports that we'll talk about, since we are not only a football show, we are others. Shohei Ohtani, he's cleared out his locker room. He will no longer play for the Angels. I got that correct.
Yep.
I'm not a baseball guy, so I have to look at Trey and make sure.
Yes, it is correct.
But that he will get his surgery. He will be able to hit next season, but he will not be able to pitch until 2025. Am I correct in that, Mr. Trey Whiteout?
Yes, you are correct in that.
So, Mr. Shohei Ohtani, the best player in baseball, arguably of all time, over Babe Ruth. I'm going to say it. He is in the conversation.
If he didn't get hurt and had those 2 years.
If we're talking about talent,
it would be solidified.
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, but unfortunately, he's going to be out, at least pitching-wise, for 2 years. He's going to be able to hit. I mean, if he crushes 60 home runs. Then
he can be a designated hitter.
Yeah, he's going to be fine. And then WNBA playoffs are heating up. Mr. Dylan Walton, our expert WNBA analyst. What are your thoughts?
Let's go, Liberty.
What are your thoughts on the playoffs so far?
Sun, right? So far, so good. Connecticut Sun had a outburst last night against
the Minnesota Lynx.
Yeah, Minnesota Lynx. Great, Alyssa Thomas. She's getting to it. She's like the female version of Chris Bosh to me. She can do it all. I'm riding with the Liberty this year, boys. The Aces, they came and went. Kelsey Plum is my celebrity basketball crush. Love her to death. But the Liberty, New York Liberty, Breonna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, they got it. That's the tag team duo. They like the KD and Steph of the WNBA. They can do whatever, shoot from wherever, get to any bucket they want to. The system they run is beautiful. It's I love the WNBA. I'm not gonna lie. The league pass is cheap. It's good. Seeing women do things that we normally don't see on an everyday basis is like remarkable to me because the woman body is it's taxing, and then they already playing sports and all that. So like to see them really lock in and hone in and do something amazingly on a nightly basis, just like us men can do, and get some praise for it, I'm with it, and I'm gonna support them till the wheels fall off. I love it.
It's definitely, there's some talent. I mean, Sabrina is a bucket.
Is a walking bucket.
I mean, when you got Kobe Bryant talking about your game and how good you are, I mean, that's pretty high praise from one of the greatest of all time, which, obviously we wish that he's still with us, on Earth. But, yeah, I mean, Sabrina's a bucket. I mean, I think
Jewel Lloyd is a bucket, too, Seattle Storm, average 20.
I just think the biggest issue with the WNBA is they got to learn how to market to
they do.
a wider audience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, most of their audience is a male audience, and you got to find a way to get,
women involved.
Get the women involved. I mean, there are women involved. We see a ton of coaches. We see a lot of executives, some team owners and whatnot. We see support. We see support from the NBA, from other leagues as well. But they just got to find a way to market their brand a little better, and hey, can we get these ladies a jet?
Yeah, a PJ for real.
Can we get them a chartered flight?
First class at least.
I mean, it'd be nice for you, Dylan Walton, if you were on a flight and you just happened to sit next to Brittany Griner. But
I wouldn't mind it.
You wouldn't mind it, but I'm sure she would mind it.
Yeah, she would have a problem.
She would have a problem.
Yeah,
she'd be like, why am I sitting next to this guy?
Not the same tax bracket, baby.
No,
the same tax
no, not at all. And guys, the NHL season is right around the corner. They're about to start the preseason play here in a minute.
Yep.
I know we're not super hockey heads in this room. I do like to keep up with the Predators, and we're kind of in a rebuild mode right now. But
are you serious?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
I just got the showcase tickets for next Thursday or this upcoming Thursday. I'm getting into hockey too.
You might need a refund. Then.
You might need a refund. You'll have fun. It's a good show. It's a good production. It'll be fun. But
what is it supposed to be?
Again, it's just like we're not where we were when we made it to the Stanley Cup, and we've like slowly lost pieces from that team, and the pieces we've tried to add just haven't quite got to where we want to be. But again, it's hockey. It's something else. I do enjoy watching a hockey game when there's really nothing on, but
it's not bad.
It's not bad. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what offsides is. I don't know, what the deal is, but it is what it is.
It's entertaining, Loki.
Oh, no doubt. So, guys, we're about to wrap it up here in a couple minutes, but please watch the show. That's all I got to say is please watch the show. We put a lot of hard work into this. It's kind of a bonus show that we do. We all work very hard here, and shout out to Mr. Steve Sawyer for letting us do this. Shout out to David Ellison for helping us out with Crunch Time and this show, and then shout out to Doc V, man, for letting us use this beautiful studio. He doesn't have to let us do this. He doesn't have to let us use this, but he allows it because he knows it brings us joy, and he knows the content we produce is somewhat good. Somewhat good.
Somewhat, not
again.
Not an amazing.
You got three
slowly improving though.
You got you're slowly
improving.
improving. You got 3 idiots in the mic, so that's kind of where we're at. But again, we appreciate all you guys for watching. We will hopefully be back next week. Again, we're kind of in a flux schedule with football. We do produce games for Awesome Peay Football on ESPN Plus. Go watch those.
Yep.
So we'll be on as much as we can. We want to get Crunch Time on as much as we can, but we will be on as much as we can, again, just to talk about regular sports with our Awesome Peay audience. But this is the Role Players Podcast, and we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you hopefully next week.
Yes, sir.